DCB Bank shares recently surged massively, as you can see, from 129 rupees per share around Friday, October 17th, to 20% surge all the way to 156 rupees right now. So this has been a massive surge, even historically speaking, as you can see how big this recent thing looks. And this was partly said to be because of its latest earnings. So its quarter two fiscal year 2026 earnings are out. Let's check them out and see how good were these earnings that caused such a massive surge. Now, first is interest income. As you can see, interest income has grown from 1,568 crores 12 months back to now 1,823 crores. Interest expense, of course, interest it has to pay on deposits and all of that. And this has led to the increase in the net interest income. Interest income minus interest expense, net interest income rose by 17%. Other income, that is non-other income, actually declined by 9% year on year. So total income increased by only 10%. However, operating expenses rose by only 4%, leading to operating profit rising by 19% from 255 to 304 crores. Provisions and contingencies. These are funds set aside for specific purposes. For example, covering bad loans. So loans that have gone bad, they have to be recognized as losses. So to cover those loans, provisions or funds are set aside. So this increased by 33%. And despite that, net profit before tax increased by 16%. And finally, profit after tax increased by 18%. So nice. And interest income, this top line grew by around 16%. So not the craziest growth, but pretty solid growth numbers, especially on the net interest income and the profit after tax side. Oh, moving on. The balance sheet size, total balance sheet grew by 14.41%. Advances, that are total loans given out or loans approved grew by 19.14% to 52,975 crores. Deposits grew by 18.79% to 64,777 crores. Then, current account savings account ratio, which is current account savings account as a percentage of total deposits, declined from 25.61% to 23.52%, which is a L. Higher the current account savings account, the better it is for a bank because they have to pay less interest on these kind of deposits. So they really need to increase this. That is one thing to keep an eye on. Capital adequacy ratio increased to 16.41, which is good. Higher this, the better. This is like a balance sheet or a financial health metric of a bank. Like how healthy is the bank? Okay. And gross NPAs, non-performing assets, decreased from 3.29% to 2.9%, which is good thing. However, net NPAs increased to 1.21% from 1.17%. Provision coverage ratio looks solid at 74.15%. Headcount, total number of employees is actually on a decline from 11,800 to 11,900 to 10,792 workers, while branches have actually increased to now 468 branches for 451 12 months ago. And here you can see the state-wise concentration. Maharashtra 16%, 19%. I don't this is Odisha, would be Delhi. I think it's Delhi. However, you can just yeah, you can note it down. You can pause and note it down. Then key metrics. Key metrics. Slippages, number of loans that actually go bad. Slippages, lower this percentage the better. So 3.17, slight decrease. That is good. And credit cost increased a bit 0.31, still pretty low, but it's increased a bit. Brokerage coverage ratio, you can see stable, excluding technical write-off. It has decreased. So one thing to keep an eye on is PCR excluding technical write-off. Then yield on advances decrease a bit. Yield on advances decrease a bit to 11.11 as compared to 11.39. Cost of funds also decrease. Okay, so cost decreased and yield also decreased. Cost of deposits also decreased a bit, 6.96. Cost to income is down from 64% to 61%. Return on assets slightly up, 0.94, negligible increase almost. Cost to average assets seems to have decreased a lot. The lower this, the better. Return on equity, nice, 13.2%. 13.2%. And net interest margin, very important figure, a slight decline from 3.27 to 3.23, slightly attributed to RBI's dec- decrease reduction in the repo rate. So that leads to a decrease in the interest margins, interest rates basically. And finally, consistent growth in the fee income, the non-interest income. So this time, other income declined. Remember 9%, but the core fee income actually increased. So this blue one is the core fee income, commissions, exchange, and brokerage. It increased from 139 crores to 158 crores. This is important because this is the repetitive, recurring income, other income that is. While stuff like you can see, the yellow is profits on sale of investments or loss of sale of investments. This is a more non-recurring type. So 52 crores, 12 months back to 23 crores. Overall, good growth in deposits, good growth in advances. Bank wants to double its balance sheet every 3 to 4 years. Net interest margin is 3.2%, 3.2 something. They want to maintain it around 3.5 to 3.6. So let's see if we can manage that. Return on assets, they want it to be above 1%. Currently, it's 0.93. And return on equity was 13.2%. They want it to be higher. I think almost reaching 14% is their goal. That was it. DCB Bank. Let's see how it does in the near future.